Hello lean people, this is Cedro Toro with KPI Fire, and today we're going to do a video on the 6 keys to successful strategy execution. Now, what is strategy execution? Well, it's very simple. Phase 1 of a strategy is to build and define what your strategy is. What do you want to accomplish? And those goals across most companies are very similar. You want to grow your top line revenue. You want to increase your IBITA. You want to increase market share. You want to improve operations. So regardless of the strategic plan, the goal setting piece in a lot of companies is fairly straightforward. Now, the next part is the hard part. How do you actually execute your strategy and do that successfully? What do I mean by success? Well, if you set 5 goals for your executive team for the year, all 5 of those goals get completed and on time. That's critical. Now, it's important that you also set measurable goals. I've done another video where I talked about your mission statement, and I'm a big believer in making mission statements a little bit more tangible and less vague so that there's something you can actually accomplish. That cascades down to what we're going to talk about today, which is how do we make sure that strategy is executed across every department and team in the entire company. So let's get to it. The first key to strategy execution is alignment. How do we get alignment? Well, what we do is we get everyone in the team, or at least the leaders, involved in the strategy. So instead of doing a pure top-down where the executive team dictates what the strategy for the company will be, we leave a little bit of room. So if there's room for, say, 5 big initiatives this year, the executive team can check off 3 of those, but we allow room for middle managers and teams to come up with ideas and fill in the blanks of what they would like to accomplish this year and what they see as the problems or the opportunities in the business. So by doing this, we get a combination of top down and bottom up. What tool do we need to get alignment through our company? Well, the tool for this is what we call catchball. Now, what does catchball mean? It's this simple. You take a ball, which is your strategic objective that you want to accomplish as the executive, the CEO, the COO, and then you go down to your next manager, your VP level or director level, and you say, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. What can your team do to contribute to that? So you throw the ball over there and they say, hey, I think I can help contribute to that $10 million goal by giving you $5 million in savings from my team's continuous improvement work. And they throw the ball back to me. And we negotiate, and I say, you know what, that $5 million saving sounds a little low, especially considering you did $5 million last year. I think you could do $7 million this year. And I throw the ball back. And the negotiation continues until finally we come to an agreement as to what that goal should be. The difference here is instead of me dictating what my team should do, they're participating in the process. And when we land on a number that we're going to hit for the year, we're both bought in. We both believe we can hit the number. We know it's going to be hard, but we know we can hit it. And that's going to lead into one of our other keys, which is going to be the support. And we'll talk about that in just a bit. But let's move on to the next one. The next key is clarity. So how do we get clarity on what we're supposed to do? A lot of times companies set goals that are ambiguous and we want to improve our customer support, or we want to increase our ability to deliver products and services. Those are great things to have at the highest level of your mission, vision, values. But when it comes to your annual strategy, you need to have something much more tangible. So the way we're going to get this is we're going to have people take those goals and we're going to break them down into smaller sub-goals, and then we're going to break those smaller sub-goals down into projects or specific bodies of work that people are going to complete, assign actions to individuals, give them due dates, and get things done. And you'll recognize this from the KPI Fire software system where we set goals as dark blue and we set projects as orange. And the way this works is, as a team, I have clarity that if I get these 3 projects done, it's going to help me achieve my short-term goal, which is going to help the company achieve the bigger goal that we both worked on at the beginning of the year. That alignment of goals gives complete clarity to how every team member and leader contributes to the overall strategy. So What tools can we use to get this done? Well, the first tool is we can use a work breakdown structure, which is essentially breaking those big goals down into smaller and smaller pieces. And a great way to do that is inside KPI Fire. You can go in and you can set your strategic plan, and then you can break that strategic plan down into smaller and smaller pieces, all the way down to the task level, so every employee can actually see how their tasks are contributing to the overall strategy of the company. Okay, let's talk about key number 3, visibility. One thing that happens in every organization I've ever been is they create a strategic plan in a spreadsheet, and then that spreadsheet gets shared in a shared folder, and then it only gets looked at maybe once a quarter during a quarterly business review when somebody pulls it up. Now, that's not to say that it isn't important. It's just tactical business work often overrides and takes the place of strategic business work. It's just how things go. So how do you keep your strategic goals that are very important at the top of your team's top of mind awareness? How do you make sure they're paying attention to it? So visibility is important. What we have to do is we have to elevate and create a routine where we are actually reviewing our strategic plan on at least a weekly basis. Now that seems like a lot, right? Especially if you're used to reviewing it once per quarter. But again, the reason people don't review it more often is because a lot of times they expect people to create these fancy reports and put together a PowerPoint presentation, and it's really cumbersome to talk about your strategic plan. And then people don't do it. So why don't we make it simple to talk about your strategic plan? So what you can do is inside KPI Fire, you can actually take your strategic plan, pull it up on a dashboard. So you actually have a strategy dashboard, and you can review that really quickly in a 5-minute meeting with your team. You can pull it up and say, where are we at? Have you entered in your status report? And you actually have a system that will remind your team to update their status report. Now, if you can't do it once a week, at least every other week, so bi-weekly at a bare minimum, but we really recommend that you're reviewing and making your strategy visible once a week. Okay, let's talk about the fourth one, support. None of this matters if your team and leaders don't have the support they need to actually complete their goals. Now, when somebody doesn't get something done, there's usually a few reasons, right? 1, they were too busy. Number 2, they didn't have the skill set to do it in the first place. Or 3, they didn't truly believe in it. So hopefully we've solved those first problems up front by giving people alignment to the goals, making sure they have the skill set. But people do need support. They need coaching, mentoring. They need assistance from other teams. So how are we going to do this? The way we're going to do it is we're going to create a network where people are working together and helping each other reach their strategic goals instead of working in silos. The tool we use for this is called Agile, right? This is what the definition of an agile work environment, where it's a lot less hierarchical. There's still hierarchy, but you're able to contact directly the people you need to get things done. So that support is important for reaching your goals, because if I get stuck on a project and I don't feel like I have access to the resources to do it, I'm going to stagnate, and then that strategic goal is going to fall by the wayside. Okay. Another thing you can do to help support is put in management systems. So weekly reviews of your goals, project reviews with your teams. You can do stakeholder analysis to find out who's involved and who needs to be brought into the project. All of those tools will help provide support for your team to get their strategic goals done. Let's talk about accountability. This is another essential ingredient to strategy execution, because without accountability, it's really easy for timelines to be slipped, goals not to be reached, and culturally we can get used to that, where, well, we don't get things done around here, and our goals are important, but so is all this other stuff. And culturally that can be really damaging to the success of your business. Now, accountability for a lot of people is uncomfortable, because what they feel like is like, well, if something didn't happen, like I'm not very good, or I look bad in front of my teammates. So how do you overcome that? Well, the best way to overcome that is going back to this routine. If you get into a routine where every individual has to report out on what they're doing, then that becomes a habit. And the first few times you do it, it may be a little uncomfortable, but once people start doing it every week, they're like, oh, this is no big deal. My boss isn't beating me up, but they are wanting to make sure that I'm staying up to date on my projects. And if you're giving them the support they need as a leader, if you as the leader are coaching and helping them, then that accountability won't feel punitive. It will feel like, wow, I'm really part of a group that wants to get this goal done, and we're doing it together. It takes the pressure off the individual and puts the pressure on the team, which is where we want it. Okay, so what tools can we use for this? So we're going to use our weekly reviews, and we're going to use our status reports. So in KPI Fire, there's a notification that'll pop up and remind you to say, hey, it's time for you to update your status report for this strategic goal. What you're going to do is you're going to go in, enter that status report, and mark the project as red, yellow, green. So red, yellow, green indicators are essential to the success of the team working on your goals. If you see green as a team, you know everything's good and there's no reason to discuss it. If you see yellow, what that means is the team working on that goal has a problem, but they're working through it and they think they have a way out. They think they have a solution. If you see red, that's an indicator that other people are needed to be brought into this project or goal to help it get done. And that's a red flag that you throw up. And that's what KPI Fire will help you do, is help you see which of your strategic goals are red, yellow, or green and instantly take action on them. Okay, now we're at the final piece of strategy execution, which is rewarding, recognizing, and reinforcing the right behaviors in your team. Without this step, you're going to have a hard time keeping the energy level high in your organization to reach your strategic goals. If every week you review your goals and you're congratulating your team on a job well done, that's going to build their energy and reinforce their behavior and make them want to do more of what they're doing that's good. Now, you want to do this not only in a public setting like a team meeting, but you want to do this one-on-one. You should be having coaching sessions with your leaders to go over their goals with them individually and ask them what challenges they have. And when they're doing a good job, you tell them one-on-one as well. You don't need to give people monetary incentives. You don't need to, give them swag and gifts. That stuff is fun and great, and we love doing that here as well at KPI Fire. But the best thing you can do for your team is just tell them, hey, you're doing a great job. Thank you for taking this strategic goal seriously and getting it done. So those are the 6 key elements of strategy execution. If you're struggling with any one of those, please feel free to give us a call at KPI Fire. We've helped companies across the world not only define their strategy, but executing it using these tools and systems that I've explained today. Thanks, and good luck with your strategy this year.